Greetings, my name is Thomas, author of As Good as God, The Transformation of Suffering into Enlightenment. Today with a special guest, Rob Nicholls, cover and illustration artist. And behind us is the cover of As Good as God. So, first of all, thanks for coming out, Rob.
No problem.
Could you give us in the audience a brief history of how you came into being an artist and what inspires you in your art?
Sure thing. As most artists, you're always, felt that calling, or we're always the best at drawing in school and stuff like that. So I ended up at Alberta College of Art and Design, and went through various styles, studies into mysticism and art history and Jungian Psychology, mandalas. From there, some experiments in psychedelics that definitely influenced some of the paintings I was doing for a long time, and don't really do that much anymore, but still some of the influences or ways of painting are still apparent. Been painting about 15 years, so hopefully I'm starting to figure it out. And then it seemed like we were on the same page when we were talking about your vision for this particular cover. So maybe you can take it from your vision and I can see where I went from there. So.
Excellent. Okay, so May 24th, 2008. It was early in the morning before yoga. Actually, Rob is also a yoga instructor. And I was going to his class. So before going to his class, I had this vision. It was early in the morning. And the vision essentially was what you're seeing in this painting. And there's a funnel, and the funnel represents the wide conical end is the event horizon. It's called an event horizon, and it's collapsing consciousness down to a single point, which is where goal and purpose meet. It's called the space-time singularity, and it's manifesting the 3D hologram that you're seeing here. And what's interesting about this hologram is that it is actually the Tai Chi. There is male-female interaction. It is the perfect synthesis of spirit and matter in zero time, essentially. And so I did a sketch just on a piece of paper and then brought it to yoga, gave it to Rob, and I was like, would you be interested in creating the art cover of the book? And so this is the result of that.
Yeah, so often in art it can be frustrating, or one person's vision and what comes out can be quite different, but in this case it was almost exactly, we were on the same page, and it went pretty smooth and went pretty quickly. So being into yoga, I also teach some partner yoga, so I was intrigued by the idea of the people touching, the partner yoga. A lot of the stuff lately I've been reversing things, so if it's black I make it white, or if it's blue I make it skin tone, or what have you. So kind of started from the idea of flipping it with space behind and so on, so they're kind of angelic or ghosty kind of imaging. So I was happy with how that turned out, and the sometimes with the movements like a spiral you kind of only have one shot at it, so I was pretty happy that it went pretty well that way, kind of the Zen marks or something. And and also for the book cover, it still leaves lots of space to put text and so on, so I think it turned out pretty well. So pretty happy with it. There's also a back cover that kind of ties in with that. And hopefully at the end of this video there'll be a little montage of some other art I've done recently that may enlighten or explain this even more. So cool. There you go. All right. So I've always thought the process of oil painting specifically is kind of a magical or alchemical process almost, in that you take these different tubes and squeeze them out in different proportions and blending and everything, and it can just really invoke a reaction in the viewer of revile or lust or love or hate or numbness or whatever. It's just various combinations, so it's kind of really a magical thing that you can take the same paint and give it to 10 different artists, and 10 different pictures of dogs will come out, and each kind of capture something of that artist or that moment in time. So art really uplifts consciousness in a way, and that's, I guess, why it's really been important throughout history and people have held on to famous paintings. So when the artist has experienced a high state of consciousness or high vibration, frequency impregnation, the paint is infused with the artist's inner psyche. The colors of the painting are sigils that speak directly to the subconscious mind viewing the art. For example, Van Gogh, one of my favorite artists, if you look at like Starry Night or Sunflowers or something, you're almost transformed into where Van Gogh was in that moment in time, or the way he was seeing or experiencing, or the mystery or magnitude of life is kind of captured in that painting. So that's kind of an amazing thing. You know, it may only be $50 worth of paint, but that's why people pay $50 million worth of painting or something. So very specific to that one person in that time, or the way they saw the world.
In the late 1990s, a group of Italian neuroscientists discovered and coined a new term for a special group of neurons. These cells are called mirror neurons. A mirror neuron is a neuron which fires both when a being acts and when a being observes the same action performed by another being. Thus, the neuron mirrors the behavior of another being as though the observer were itself acting. Now, these cells become active when we perform a particular action, such as walking on a tightrope. As well, our mirror neurons become active when we watch someone else or observe someone else's art, for example, which excites us, the observer. So these cells, these mirror neurons, appear to give us ability to make what we see in others real within us. And so the artist is projecting their psyche through their work, and it becomes real to the observer. The same frequencies that were projected at the time of the painting are received and experienced by the observer.
So the observer of the art can be uplifted by the artwork as their mirror neurons are activated or respond to the artist's expression. Then they can be uplifted or touched by the painting, so that the majestic painting is a healing medium of frequency, similar to the frequency in such things as music or poetry or even yoga mantras. Okay, I'm just going to talk briefly about the kind of art I have made and the kind of art I'm seen to be making these days. For the longest time, I painted mostly kind of realistic or representational. I still kind of do that in a way, but about a year ago or so, I just kind of said the heck with it and just really loosened up and got into a lot more into splatters and drips and this idea of reversing things or just using photocopies as kind of a starting point to work from, kind of inspiring the piece. So being a yoga instructor, I'm very influenced by Hindu gods and traveled to India and had some adventures there, so kind of feel drawn to them as a subject in art. So I guess the first one of this kind of new style was a kind of detail of the monkey god Holomovment. So reversing it kind of gives it an interesting lighting quality, of kind of from below, and it's just very dramatic and kind of almost sinister sometimes. So that was the first one. I think it turned out pretty well, and that led into one based on Krishna, the avatar from the Bhagavad Gita. There's a passage in the Bhagavad Gita that he's asked to show his real form, where he's much like this, where it's just snakes and just massive and infinity in all directions. So that was the kind of exploding beautiful head kind of is the inspiration from that. Which led, the next one I did was just the good old kind of good luck Ganesh with the big belly, and it's pretty straightforward. It's still a little bit tighter than I wanted, but still kind of using some of these reverse colors.